Hare Krishna. You have a book? So thank you all for coming here to participate in our Sunday feast, despite this very bad weather.
Všem děkuji, že jste přišli na naši nedělní hostinu tady navzdory tomu špatnému počasí.
That you've all taken the trouble in this weather to come here shows that you are all Mahatmas, great souls.
A to, že jste navzdory tomu problémům sem přišli, tak ukazuje, že jste velké duše.
So, as great souls, I'm confident you'll be very interested to hear the message of Bhagavad Gita.
A jelikož jste velké duše, tak věřím, že budete chtít si poslechnout poselství Bhagavad Gita.
So this evening we will hear Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna in chapter 7, just near the beginning, verse number 2.
Dnes večer budeme poslouchat, jak pán Krishna mluví k Arjunovi v 7. kapitole, na začátku sloku číslo 2.
So the chapter is called Knowledge of the Absolute.
Kapitola se jmenuje Poznání o absolutním.
And in the second verse, Lord Krishna is making clear just what this absolute knowledge means.
V tomto druhém verši pán Krishna velice jasně říká, co toto absolutní poznání znamená.
So he says, Jnanam te aham sabhijnanam idam vakshami ashishta yaj gyatva neha bhuyo nyaj gyatavyam avishishyate. And we can learn what this means if you just kindly repeat after me. Jnanam, phenomenal knowledge. I guess there's no need for English here. I'm just in the habit. Te, aham, sa, vijnanam, idam, bhakshami, asheshataha, yat, gyatva, na, iha, bhuyaha, anyat, gyatovyam, avashishyate.
Nyní ti v úplnosti vyložím toto poznání, fenomenální, nebo hmotné i duchovní, po jehož pochopení nezbyde už nic, co by bylo možné poznat. Význam úplné transcendentální poznání zahrnuje poznání fenomenálního neboli hmotného světa, skryté duchovní podstaty a jejich zdroje. Pán Krishna chce vyložit Arjunovi zmíněný systém poznání, protože Arjuna je jeho důvěrným, oddaným a přítelem. Zde se znovu potvrzuje to, co na začátku 4. kapitoly již pán uvedl. Úplného poznání může nabít jedině pánův oddaný, který se zapojí do učenické posloupnosti pocházející od samotného pána. Člověk proto má být natolik inteligentní, aby poznal zdroj veškerého poznání, který je příčinou všech příčin a jediným cílem meditace ve všech druzích jógy. S poznáním příčiny všech příčin pozná vše, co je možné znát, nic mu nezůstane neznámé. Védy Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.3 uvádějí Kasminu bhagavam vidyate sarvam idam vidyatam bhavatiti.
Okay. So, Jnanam te aham sabhijnanam idam vakshami sheshataha yaj gyatva neha bhuyo nyaj gyatavyam avishishti. You can lead them in repeating the verse translation.
Takže já budu číst po částech překlad verše, který se opakoval. Nyní ti v úplnosti vyložím toto poznání, fenomenální i duchovní, po jehož pochopení nezbyde již nic, co by bylo možné poznat.
So, absolute knowledge, or as Prabhupada says in the purport complete knowledge, it must include knowledge of the material world, phenomenal world, which Sri Krishna here calls jnana, ordinary jnana.
Takže absolutní, nebo jak říkal Prabhupáda, úplné poznání musí také zahrnovat poznání o hmotném světě neboli fenomenálním světě, které Prabhupáda tady.
And then behind this phenomenal world there is the realm of spirit.
Potom nad tímto fenomenálním světem je duchovní oblast.
But even when we come to know what is spirit, that is not the end of knowledge.
Ale dokonce, když poznáme, co je duchovno, tak to není koncem poznání.
Because both matter and spirit have an ultimate source.
Protože hmotná i duchovní energie mají svůj konečný zdroj.
So we must know this source, and that knowledge in particular, knowing the source of matter and spirit, is transcendental knowledge.
Takže musíme také znát ten zdroj a takové poznání se nazývá transcendentální.
As Srila Prabhupada once said in discussing these points with his disciples,
Srila Prabhupada řekl, když rozebíral tyhle body se svými žáky,
that Krishna is transcendental to both matter and spirit.
že Krishna je transcendentální vůči hmotě i vůči duchovní energii.
So even one comes to know spirit, like today in our modern time there is this well-known phenomena called the New Age movement.
V dnešním světě je ten známý jev, který se nazývá hnutí New Age.
So that is the sign that there's a great deal of interest in spirit, in knowing the spirit beyond the world of phenomena.
Které se velice zajímá o duch, o duchovní pozadí celého fenomenálního světa.
And Krishna will say in the very next verse that someone who comes to that knowledge of spirit, he's hard to find.
A Krishna v dalším verši potom říká, že kdo pozná toto duchovno, tak takovou osobu je těžké najít.
Manushanam sastreshu kashchid vatati siddhaya. Out of thousands of people, it is hard to find one who is siddhaya, who is established in the knowledge of the spirit self.
Mezi mnoha tisíci lidí je vzácné najít jednoho, který je upevněný v tomto poznání duchovní duše. Siddhaya.
But then Krishna goes on to say, yatatamapi siddhanam kashchin mam veti tattva. Then you can pick out from here and there, bring together thousands and thousands of people who have insight into their spiritual nature. Among these thousands, it is very hard to find one who knows about Krishna.
A potom Krishna pokračuje, pokud pozbíráte tisíce takovýchhle osob, které mají ponětí o své duchovní podstatě, tak mezi tisíci takových lidí je vzácné najít jednoho, kdo zná Krishnu.
So this spectrum of knowledge, from phenomenal to spiritual to transcendental, Krishna consciousness, this entire spectrum is called absolute knowledge.
Takže celé toto spektrum poznání od fenomenálního nebo hmotného přes duchovní až po transcendentální, tak to dohromady se nazývá absolutní poznání.
So let us now consider these stages of knowledge one by one.
Takže teď probereme toto stádia poznání jedno po druhém.
So first, phenomenal knowledge. What does this word phenomena actually mean?
Takže nejdřív fenomenální poznání, co vlastně znamená to slovo fenomenální.
It means, for one thing, ever changing, that this world, phenomenal world, is always changing.
Za jedno fenomenální svět znamená, že se pořád mění.
And because it is always changing, the consequence is that we are never actually in touch with this world.
A když se pořád mění, tak důsledkem toho je, že ve skutečnosti nejsme ani ve styku s tímto světem.
Now maybe this is a little hard to understand,
To je možná trochu těžké pochopit.
because one might reply, I'm in touch with this world. Here it is. I'm in direct touch with matter.
Na to může někdo odpovědět, no já jsem ve styku tady s tím světem, to je hmota, já jsem ve styku.
But that also is only appearance. That is part of the phenomena.
Ale to je jenom, jak se věci jeví. To znamená
Phenomena just means the way things look,
fenomén znamená, jak věci vypadají,
the way they seem.
jak je možné je vidět.
But if we, you see, think a little deeper, that's the point of this word jnana. One should try to penetrate beyond this appearance.
Když jdeme hloub, což je význam slova gyana, když se snažíme proniknout jenom tím vnějším vzhledem.
And as soon as we do that, then we start to understand more what this word phenomenal means.
Tak jakmile tohle budeme dělat, tak budeme víc chápat, co znamená to slovo fenomenální.
So, consider that everything that we are experiencing is within time.
Takže uvažte to, že všechno, co zažíváme, je v rámci času.
Modern science says that there is nothing in this material world that is at rest, that is still.
Moderní věda říká, že v tomto hmotném světě neexistuje nic, co by bylo v klidu.
It looks to us that this table here is solid and there, not moving.
Pro nás to tak vypadá, že tady ten stolek je prostě pevný a nehýbe se.
Stationary.
Je prostě stacionární.
But scientists who look deeper beyond appearance, they tell us that every particle of this table is in constant motion.
Ale vědci, kteří se na to dívají víc detailně, tak řeknou, že každá částečka tady toho stolku je v neustálém pohybu.
So there's nothing that is at rest.
Takže nic není v klidu.
And this motion is, of course, what does it mean? It means movement in time.
A co je to za pohyb? Znamená to pohyb v čase.
This is why Einstein, the famous Albert Einstein, he has come up with this conception known as space-time, putting the words space and time together to make one entity.
To slavný Albert Einstein přišel s pojmem časoprostor, kdy spojil čas a prostor do jedné entity.
Because time is only understood by movement through space.
Protože čas je možné znát skrze pohyb prostorem.
And similarly, the existence of space is only understandable through time.
A zase, co vám možné chápat jedině díky času.
So anyway, this was his speculation. that we cannot separate space and time.
To byla Einsteinová spekulace, že nemůžeme oddělovat čas a prostor.
So everything, in other words, everything that is happening is within time.
Všechno, co se děje, tak probíhá v rámci času.
Everything we do takes time.
Všechno, co děláme, tak trvá nějaký čas.
Even our perceiving of this world,
Dokonce i to, jak vnímáme tento svět,
you see, takes time.
to taky trvá nějaký čas.
Just like we look out into now it's a dark, cloudy day, but yesterday it was very sunny, so we could look out and see the sun in the sky.
Když se podíváme ven, dneska je zamračeno, včera bylo jasno, tak jsme mohli vidět slunce na nebi.
And we think, oh, there's the sun.
Tak si říkáme, no tamhle je slunce,
It's right there.
teď je právě tam.
But actually what we are seeing with these eyes is the sun of 8 minutes ago.
Ale ve skutečnosti, co těmato očima vidíme, je slunce před 8 minutami.
At least according to the modern science.
Aspoň podle moderní vědy.
They calculate that it takes 8 minutes for the light of the sun to come to our eye.
Oni počítají, že to trvá 8 minut, než světlo slunce dojde k našim očím.
So nobody here has ever seen the sun as it is.
Takže tady nikdo ještě nikdy neviděl slunce tak, jak je.
You are not in touch with the sun
Jste ve styku se sluncem,
as it is.
takovým, jakým je.
Maybe you can say as it was 8 minutes ago.
Jaké bylo před 8 minutami.
But no one has ever seen the sun in present time now.
Ale nikdo neviděl slunce teď právě v tuto chvíli.
Now, there is even time, it takes time for me to see this microphone, which is only a few centimeters in front of my nose.
Dokonce mě taky trvá nějaký čas, než uvidím tenhle mikrofon, který je pár centimetrů od mého nosu.
So that means I never see this microphone as it is.
To znamená, že ani já nevidím ten mikrofon takový, jaký je.
So this is what I mean, that we are never actually in touch with the world.
Takže to myslím tím, že nejsme ve skutečnosti ve styku s tímto světem.
Time separates it from us.
Čas ho od nás odděluje.
This is the meaning of phenomenal world.
A to je, co znamená fenomenální svět.
It's actually not there.
Že ve skutečnosti tady není.
See, what you're seeing in this instant is not there.
Co v tuhle chvíli vidíte, tak to tam právě není.
And this is a fact. I'm not speaking to you any mystical knowledge coming from Tibet. This is coming to us from people like Albert Einstein and Werner Heisenberg and other big brains right here in Europe. You can't accuse me now of preaching some esoteric foreign knowledge. This is your knowledge. This is your science. Your science says you are not in touch with this world. Your science says that all you're perceiving, this solid matter, it's not there when you're going like this. It's not there anymore. You see, it is only our perception that is left. Huh? In other words, what's in our consciousness? You see? And we can never, this was the point of another Western philosopher from nearby here, Immanuel Kant. He said you can never actually know what's out there. You see, we simply have an idea of what's there. It exists in the mind. But no one can actually prove what is really there because we're never in touch with it. Now another thing that modern science, your modern science, says about this world moving in time is of course this world that we're now experiencing. You've all learned in school, it is made up of smaller and smaller units of matter. So we can take something like this paper and divide it. Finally we come to something they call molecule. We divide a molecule, we'll get atoms. And then we can even divide atoms according to science today. And then we get electrons and protons and neutrons and then even smaller things. Quarks and gluons and muons. So, what your science tells us is that when we get down to this level of matter and we consider the movement of matter, then something is happening that is simply perplexing. You see? Because on that very fundamental level of matter, then motion, you see what we understand, movement, means a total disturbance, a total displacement. Now, here before you, I wish I had a little ball, but I don't have one, so please imagine that I roll a ball from this side of the table to the other, and you imagine in your mind that you're seeing it roll along. So when we see that, we think, yes, there is one ball here, and it is moving point by point by point through space. But remember that this ball that we're seeing and thinking that's how it moves, it is made up of molecules, atoms, and then things even smaller than atoms.
samotná je složená z molekul atomů a ještě menších věcí.
So modern science says when something of that micro size moves, it's breaking. There's a break of its physical existence from one point to the next.
Moderní věda říká, že na téhle úrovni, jakmile se předměty pohybují, tak znamená, že momentálně přestávají existovat z jedné chvíle na druhou.
This is what they call quantum jump or quantum leap.
Říká se tomu kvantové skoky.
So an electron is here at this energy state.
Že elektron je tady na tom v určitém energetickém stavu.
And when simply the energy to observe this electron is applied, because to observe an electron you need to put energy on it.
Abyste mohli pozorovat elektron, tak na to používáte vlastní energii.
So then that observing it, simply looking at it, causes it to move, so to speak.
A už jenom to, že se na něj díváme, tak ho nějakým způsobem vede k pohybu.
So this is the motion that scientists see in these small particles.
A to je pohyb, který vědci sledují u těchto malých částic.
It's motion of their own looking at that.
Pohyb způsobený tím, že se sami na to dívají.
And the nature of this motion is that the electron is disappearing from here and reappearing from there to there.
Ten pohyb probíhá tak, že elektron na jednom určitém místě zmizí a potom se objeví na jiném místě.
And there's nothing in between.
Mezi tím není nic.
You see, and even there's at least one scientist who commented that this practically means that it is a new electron appearing in a different place.
Jeden vědec to komentoval, že to je prakticky nový elektron, který se objevuje na jiném místě.
He said, from our scientific point of view, this is how we have to assume.
Říkal, z mého vědeckého pohledu tohle to musíme předpokládat.
So what this is like, you can imagine, rolling a ball, but as soon as we put force on the ball, it vanishes.
Takže když tady budu koulit, tak to znamená, jakmile do ní strčím, tak ona zmizí.
Then another ball reappears on the next point
A další koule se objeví o kus dál.
and disappears.
A zase zmizí.
And then another ball, third ball, appears on the next point,
Potom třetí koule se objeví na třetím místě.
disappears.
A zase zmizí.
In this way, the ball seems to be moving,
Díky tomu to vypadá, že koule se kutáhá.
but it's a rapid succession of appearances and disappearances,
Přitom to je rychlý sled toho, jak mizí a zase se objevuje.
like a movie.
Jako film.
You see, film, then you have different images.
Na filmu máte různé obrázky,
They're all separate.
které jsou oddělené.
And someone is moving their arm, so first it's in this position, then this position, then this position, this position, this position.
Tam jsou takové obrázky, postupně pohybuje paží.
But the film moves at a certain speed and we see fluid motion. We think one arm going up like that.
Ale ten film, když se promítá určitou rychlostí, tak to vidíme jako souvislý pohyb jedné ruky.
But actually it's many different arms.
V skutečnosti to je mnoho různých rukou.
So you'll be interested to know that our Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures, they actually explain movement in this world just like that.
A bude vás zajímat, že naše védské texty, jako Srimad Bhagavatam a další, vysvětlují pohyb v tomto světě právě tímhle způsobem.
Bhagavatam compares this world in the 11th canto to a flame, like a flame we see on the end of a candle.
Tam 11. zpěv přirovnává tenhle svět jako plamen svíčky, který můžeme vidět.
Now when the air is quiet and the flame is burning, it appears to be just one solid thing that is just glowing, shedding light in all directions.
A když je klidný, plamen hoří jasně a vypadá jako jedna neměnná věc, která vydává světlo do všech stran.
But when one examines the flame closely, carefully,
Ale když se na ten plamen podíváme zblízka,
and you can do this with your present senses, you don't need a microscope or anything. You can just look carefully at a flame on a candle.
tomu ani nepotřebujete mikroskop nebo cokoliv, to jenom stačí vaše smysly, když se podíváte na plamen svíčky.
You see it is constantly changing.
Můžete vidět, že se pořád mění.
There is one flame, next flame, rapid succession.
Že to je taková rychlá taková posloupnost sled různých plamenů.
But when we don't look carefully, when we're just taking it for granted, we think one flame always there.
A když se na to nedíváme takhle pozorně, tak si jenom říkáme, že to je jeden plamen, který tam vždycky je pořád.
So Bhagavatam says the whole material world is like that.
Bhagavatam říká, že celý hmotný svět je na tom.
Yes, everything is in constant motion.
Všechno je v neustálém pohybu.
And this constant motion means an utter change.
A ten neustálý pohyb znamená úplnou změnu.
So these bodies that we have, they're changing at every instant.
Tato těla, která máme, tak se mění v každém okamžiku.
Actually, from second to second, you're changing your body.
Takže jednu vteřinu za druhou pořád měníme tělo.
When we get right down to the bottom of it, at every instant you have a new body.
Když se na to podíváme úplně do důsledku, tak v každém okamžiku máme nové tělo.
And then you think, well then what is this body?
No, myslím si, co to je teda tohle tělo?
Because, again, as I told you in the beginning, as soon as we try to understand something in this phenomenal world, it's already gone.
Jak jsem říkal na začátku, jakmile se něco snažíme pochopit tady ve fenomenálním světě, tak je už to pryč.
And I'm now talking about our own body,
Teď mluvím o našich vlastních tělech.
which of all material things is the nearest and dearest material thing we have.
Ze všech hmotných věcí to nejdražší, co máme.
In fact, most people think, I am the body.
Většina lidí si navíc myslí, já jsem tohle tělo.
You see, they totally identify with the body.
Úplně se stotožní s tím.
But Krishna in Gita, in the second chapter, has said this body is abhava. It is actually non-existent.
Ale Krishna v druhé kapitole Gity říkal, že tohle tělo je abhava, že ve skutečnosti neexistuje.
Because what is it? As soon as whatever you try to understand, this body, it's already gone. You see, changed into something else.
Co to je, jakmile se něco snažíte pochopit z tohle těla, tak v tu chvíli už je to pryč a změněné na něco jiného.
So this body that we consider solid, real, is also just an appearance in consciousness.
Že i tohle tělo, které považujeme za tak skutečné a tak pevné, tak to je jenom dojem ve vědomí.
So you see, finally, even the very intelligent scientists of the west of Europe, they have also come to the same conclusion.
Takže ti hodně inteligentní vědci tady v západní Evropě došli ke stejnému závěru.
There is one big American physicist named Wheeler.
Ten velký americký fyzik jménem Wheeler.
He's one of the big ones. He may be dead by now, but he was one of the big stars in modern physics.
Možná už je mrtvý, ale byla to jedna z velkých hvězd moderní fyziky.
So he made the comment that formerly, like before 100 years ago, we scientists, we used to think of the world as if it is a great machine.
On prohlásil dříve, tak před 100 lety jsme vědci uvažovali o tomhle světě jako o velkém stroji.
Nature, cosmos, as a mechanism.
Příroda, kosmos je jeden mechanismus.
Isaac Newton had this idea, he compared the universe to a clock.
Isaac Newton přirovnával vesmír k hodinám.
In his day, a clock was a very fancy machine, very high-tech machine.
V jeho dobách byly hodiny velice rafinovaným strojem.
Now it's computer.
Teď je to počítač.
So now you hear a lot of people, they like to compare a world or the brain or something to computer, because that's the big machine we have now.
Dnes hodně lidí přirovnává svět nebo mozek nebo cokoliv k počítači, to je významný stroj, který máme.
But this Professor Wheeler, he said, we used to think in science that the world, the universe, is like a machine, but we think now it is better to say that this universe is like a thought. A thought.
Říkal pan Wheeler, že mysleli jsme si, že tenhle vesmír je něco jako stroj, ale dnes to bereme tak, že je lépe říct, že je něco jako myšlenka.
So if this universe is more like a thought,
Pokud je tenhle vesmír spíš myšlenkou,
you see, that means this body this, what we're perceiving in this room, the world outside, if it's more like a thought, then from where is this thought appearing?
Takže když tohle tělo a co tady vidíme a co je venku je spíš myšlenka, tak odkud se ta myšlenka bere?
What is the basis of thought?
Kde se objevuje, co je základem té myšlenky?
You all know, it's mind.
To je mysl,
It's consciousness.
vědomí.
So then this brings us to the next step. We go from phenomenal knowledge to knowledge of spirit.
To nás přivádí k druhému kroku, kdy přecházíme od fenomenálního poznání k duchovnímu poznání.
So the spirit soul, called in Bhagavad Gita, the jiva or jiva atma, the spirit soul is the basis of the conception of this world.
Duchovní duše nazvaná Bhagavad Gita jiva nebo jivatma je základem pojetí tohoto světa.
So we may ask, well, if this soul is spiritual, then why does it have a material conception?
No, můžeme se ptát, když je ta duše duchovní, tak proč má nějaké hmotné představy?
Because matter seems to be the opposite of spirit.
Hmota se zdá být opakem duchovna.
And that's because this jiva, this soul, is not God.
A je to proto, že jiva není Bůh.
The soul is spiritual, but the soul is also, as Krishna says here, angsa. Angsa means very small, tiny.
Duše je duchovní, ale Krishna tady říká, je to zároveň angsa, to znamená velice nepatrná.
In fact, he says, mamaivanksa. The jiva is a tiny part of my personal spiritual nature.
Krishna říká, že duše je mamaivanksa, to znamená část mojí duchovní přirozenosti.
So, yes, the soul is spiritual, of the nature of consciousness,
Duše je duchovní a má povahu vědomí.
but being very small, that same soul can fall into ignorance.
Ale jelikož je velice malá, tak tato duše může upadnout do nevědomosti.
That consciousness can become covered.
To vědomí může být zahaleno.
Just like you can cover a light.
Můžete zahalit světlo.
I gave the example of candle.
Jsem dal příklad svíčky.
So you can put a wicker basket, you know? You know what a wicker basket is?
Wicker.
Yeah, it means a basket that's woven from hard straw, you know?
Takže můžeme dát proutěný košík přes tu svíčku.
So you can place a wicker basket over the candle.
Můžeme ho dát přes překlopícím svíčku.
So air will pass through the net of the wicker and keep the flame burning.
A skrz to proudí tam bude proudit vzduch a díky tomu ten plamen bude hořet dál.
But you'll almost get no light from the candle because it's covered by the basket.
Ale nebudete od té svíčky mít skoro žádné světlo, protože je zakryté tím košíkem.
And yet the light is there.
Ale zároveň to světlo tam je.
You can say the light was put out.
A můžete říct, že světlo like switched off.
Yeah, like switched off or killed or simply covered. So this jiva atma, which we all are, in this world is simply covered by ignorance. So actually what this body is and what we're perceiving is our own ignorance. Now, someone can say, well, if what I'm seeing is my ignorance and if what he's seeing is his ignorance, why is it that we see more or less the same thing? And that's because this ignorance is imposed upon us. By Krishna. You see, this is the point, that there is matter, there is spirit, and there is a source of both. And it turns out that this matter is not what we thought it was, solid stuff.
hmota není to, za co jsme ji pokládali, něco pevného.
Rather, it's ignorance, darkness,
Ale spíš je to nevědomost, temnota.
the covering of our knowledge.
Obal našeho vědomí.
Technically it is called Achit Shakti. So Shakti means power. It is the power of God. Achit means unconsciousness. The power of unconsciousness.
Odborně se tomu říká Achit Shakti, což znamená síla nebo energie Boha, která je nevědomá.
And we as soul, we belong to the Chit Shakti, his power of consciousness.
A my jako duše náležíme k jeho Chit Shakti neboli energii vědomí.
And what this world is a combination of both.
Tento svět je kombinací obojí.
Krishna combines the two.
Krishna tohle dvoje spojuje.
And then we have this, what we know as the material world.
Z toho máme hmotný svět.
So then why did Krishna combine the two?
Proč se Krishna takhle zkombinoval?
Is it because he doesn't like us?
Protože nás nemá rád.
It's because he's rejected us?
Že nás odmítnul.
No. He's simply fulfilling our desire.
Ne, on nám jenom plní naši touhu.
Those souls, as Krishna says, all souls, mama aivangsa jivaloke jiva bhuta salatana. So all souls, including the souls of this material world, are actually part of myself, my own spiritual nature, transcendental nature.
Krishna říká, že všechny ty tak jsou součástí mé vlastní duchovní přirozenosti.
But the souls in this world, who are comparatively actually a minority,
ale duše v tomto světě, které jsou relativně v menšině,
it's hard to really understand,
což se těžko chápe,
since there's an infinite, the number of souls cannot be calculated, it is infinite.
protože množství duší se nedá spočítat, je jich nekonečně mnoho.
So a small part of infinity is also infinity.
Takže i malá část nekonečná je nekonečná.
So this is something the mind can't really understand at this stage.
Takže to je něco, čemu mysl ve skutečnosti nemůže moc rozumět.
But anyway, the fallen souls are a minority.
Takže pokleslé duše jsou v menšině.
And we are here because of our desire.
A my jsme tady kvůli svojí touze.
We have desired to be independent from Krishna.
Jsme toužili být nezávislí na Krishnovi.
In fact, we have desired to be Krishna.
Nebo jsme vlastně toužili být Krishnou.
Our actual position is to be Krishna's servant.
Ale naše skutečná pozice je být Krishnovi služebníci.
But somehow it came into our consciousness, rather than serve him, I want to be him or be like him, be as much like him as possible.
Ale nějak se nám dostalo do vědomí, že než abych mu sloužil, tak radši chci být on, nebo aspoň co nejvíce jemu podobat.
So that's called the misuse of our little free will.
Tomu se říká zneužití naší nepatrné svobodné vůle.
Free will is given for love, actually.
Svobodná vůle je daná za účelem lásky.
So the right use of free will is to love Krishna.
Pravé využití svobodné vůle je mít rád Krishnu.
There can't be love without free will.
Nemohla by být láska bez svobodné vůle.
No one can force you to love someone.
Nikdo vás nemůže donutit, abyste někoho měli rádi.
You see, you have in this country a lot of experience.
V té zemi máte hodně zkušeností.
Before, I don't know what it was, 14, 15 years ago, then you had some leaders who were saying, love us at the point of a gun.
Jste tady měli před 15 lety jako vůdce a vládu, která říkala, mějte nás rádi a měli nás puškou.
You see, when they would come to town, then everyone was forced to come out with flowers and flags and big smiles. We love you.
Přijeli do města, tak každý musel jít ven a vítat je s květinami a s velkými úsměvy, máme vás rádi.
But all of you know that's not love.
Ale víte všichni, že tohle to není láska.
It can't be forced.
To se nedá vnutit.
So that is why there's free will. That's Krishna's plan.
Proto existuje svobodná vůle, to je Krishnův plán.
So then because there's free will, there is the possibility to misuse it. So if the tiny soul desires to be Almighty God,
nepatrná, duše přeje být všemocným Bohem.
So that is the beginning of ignorance.
To je počátek nevědomosti.
Because that's absurd.
Protože to je absurdní.
You see. So anyway, so we are put into this dream by the Lord, because that's what I told you. This world is like a thought or like a dream, in other words.
Takže Pán nás umístil tady do toho snu, jak jsem říkal, tento svět je víceméně jako myšlenka nebo sen.
This is a very nice way to understand this world.
To je první způsob, jak tenhle svět chápat.
Because every night you're dreaming,
Protože každou noc máte nějaké sny.
and these dreams you have, mostly we are thinking as we're having them that they're real.
A když se nám zdají ty sny, tak většinou si myslíme, že jsou skutečné.
That's why these psychologists who study dreams, then they see the subject of the study. In a dream, the heart is beating very fast because he's frightened. He's having a bad dream.
Psychologové, když studují tyhle sny, tak budou vnímat, vidět, že někdo má špatný sen, tak mu se rozbuší srdce, protože je rozrušený od nebezpečí.
He's sweating.
Potí se.
He's trembling.
Třese se.
He's moaning, in anxiety.
A sténá prostě v úzkosti.
So he thinks that dream is real.
Takže on si myslí, že ten sen je skutečnost.
But if you wake him up,
A když ho probudíte,
and he sits up,
on se posadí,
and he's surprised.
tak se diví.
Where's that tiger?
To je ten tygr.
I was just being attacked by a tiger, now it's gone.
Právě na mě skákal tygr a najednou je pryč.
You see? So, this is our condition.
To je naše situace.
We have desired this ignorant position,
My jsme toužili vlastně po tomhle postavení v nevědomosti.
absurd position of being God.
Po tom absurdním postavení, že jsme Bůh.
So we're put into this dreamlike material existence,
Takže jsme umístěni do této existence, hmotné existence, která je jako sen.
where we can, yes, imagine that this whole universe, you see, the whole vast universe, which we don't even know the limit of, but the center is me. I'm the most important person here.
Si můžeme představovat, že v celém tomhle vesmíru, jehož neznáme ani meze, tak nejdůležitějším středem jsem já.
I mean, listen to people talk.
Budete poslouchat, jak lidi mluví.
How many times you hear people talk about my world,
Kolikrát slyšíte, jak říkají o můj svět.
or this is my country, this is my city, Prague.
Tohle je moje země a moje město Praha.
It's your city?
Je to vaše město?
Did you make it?
Jste ho udělali?
Were you here when it was made?
Nebo byli jste tady vůbec, když jste dělal?
Are you going to be the one, if it's your city, to destroy the city too later on?
A nebo taky, když je to teda vaše město, tak vy ho potom zničíte?
Will you even be here when it's destroyed?
A budete vůbec tady, jak bude zničené?
So this is absurd, illogical to say my city.
To je absurdní a nelogické, tak moje město.
Now in Gita, this body is also compared to Pura, to city.
A dítě, to tělo je také přirovnáno k městu.
The city of 9 gates.
Městu s 9 bránami.
Just like we have these gates, the eyes, the ears, nose, mouth, etc.
Ty brány to jsou oči, uši, nos, jazyk a tak dále.
So everybody says my body,
Každý říká moje tělo.
or even more, they're thinking I am the body.
A nejen to, dokonce si myslí, já jsem tohle tělo.
Did you create your body?
A vy jste vytvořil tohle tělo.
Was the body made by you?
To tělo to jste udělal vy.
You see? And are you even maintaining the body now?
A teď jste ten, kdo ho udržuje to tělo.
Oh, you can say, yeah, I'm maintaining the body. I eat 3 times a day.
Můžete říct, no já ho udržuji, 3krát denně jím.
Well, that's nice, but if you don't breathe for 2-3 minutes, you're dead, no matter what you ate.
Tak to je pěkné, ale kdybyste 2-3 minuty nedýchal, tak bez ohledu na to, co jste snědl, tak budete po smrti.
Now, are you doing that work of breathing?
A to děláte jako tu práci dýchání?
Think about it.
Přemýšlejte
Yeah,
o tom.
just think about how many times in the day you think about breathing.
Přemýšlejte se, kolikrát denně pomyslíte na dýchání.
Now, eating we think about, yes, I'm eating.
A jedení to myslíme, no, teď tady.
But more fundamental is breathing.
Ještě základnější je dýchání.
So is every second we're going, very nice air. Now let's have another one. You see, if it was like that, then that's all we would do all day. It's just sit and breathe. But in fact, we don't think about breathing. Unless we were running or something, running upstairs, then we're out of breath. Then for a few minutes we think about breathing. Now, I just talked about sleeping a moment ago. Now, if you were directing your breathing, then what would happen at night when you go to sleep? You'd have to set your alarm clock for every second. You see? Sleep and bling! Oh, yeah, I have to breathe now. Okay. Now there is some other power that is directing this breathing. Even though we think I'm maintaining the body because I'm eating, but what good is the food if it's not digested? And so you're directing digestion. You're in your mind thinking, all right, stomach, now release the hydrochloric acid to dissolve the food that I just ate. You see, this is what I mean, to think beyond appearance. If we're just a little thoughtful, we'll see, I'm not maintaining this body. I didn't create it. I didn't maintain it. I don't maintain it. And nor, without help from outside, can I destroy this body either. You see? There are people who commit suicide, but to do that, there has to be the world around them, which they are dependent upon. You see, I can't just commit suicide by, okay, now die. So that means I don't have control, neither over my birth, over my existence, nor even really my death. You see, all of that is under higher direction. So that is Krishna. We are dependent upon Him. So, but we're in illusion. What I've been telling you is very simple to understand, but we're very expert in not seeing and quickly forgetting if we do see by some chance. And this again is ignorance. So, we need to come to our own consciousness as spirit soul, but more than that, come to Krishna consciousness. So coming to our own consciousness, this means waking up out of the dream. But coming to Krishna consciousness means acting in that awakened condition. Now everyone knows, when you're in your bed at night, in the middle of the night, everything dark, we all wake up sometimes. We all, like, our eyes just open and it's all dark. Well, what time is it? Then we look at the clock. It's only 12:30. Oh, then I will go back to sleep. So you see, you can wake up, But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will then engage in the activities of wakefulness.
Takže to je příklad toho, že se můžete probudit, ale to ještě nemusí znamenat, že budete jednat v tělem stavu.
One can even at the point of waking up decide to go back to sleep.
Dokonce když se probudíme, tak se můžeme rozhodnout, že zase půjdeme spát.
So we see even those persons who have insight into the eternal spiritual nature of their self, the soul.
Vidíme těch lidí, kteří mají nějaké pochopení své věčné duchovní podstaty jako duše.
They don't act on that platform.
Tak nejednají na takové úrovni.
You see, they just think, yes, I'm soul, this world is a dream.
Jenom si myslí, ano, já jsem duše, tenhle svět je sen.
But they do not take up their proper function as spirit soul, as servant, loving servant of Lord Krishna.
Ale neujmou se svých náležitých činností jako duchovní duše, jako věčný milující služebník Krishna.
They may think, yes, I know I'm spirit soul, I know this world is illusion, so what is the problem?
Třeba uvažuji jako, dobře, já vím, já jsem duše, tenhle svět je iluze, no a co je za problém?
Actually, everything's okay.
V skutečnosti je všechno v pořádku.
I don't have to do anything.
Já nemusím dělat nic.
You see, so this is exactly like, just slowly going back to sleep. I'm okay. I'm satisfied.
Takže to není nic jiného, že zase pomalu se ukládá zpátky ke spánku. Já jsem v pořádku a jsem spokojený.
Mm-hmm. So the real conclusion of this waking up is getting up.
Takže pravý závěr tady z toho probuzení je, že se vzdáme.
The eyes open, but then you have to get up out of the bed.
Že vstaneme, že se oči otevřou, ale potom musíme vstát z postele.
So we take this knowledge coming from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. He's also teaching, you are not the body, you are spirit soul.
Takže přijměte tady to poznání, které Krishna učí v Bhagavad Gita, nejste to tělo, jste duchovní duše.
But his conclusion is, Mam meva ye prapadyante, surrender to me.
Jeho závěr je odezdej se mi.
And yat kuroshi, yarashnashi, yat johoshi dedasi yat, yatat pasasi kaunteya, tat kurusha madarpana. Then whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you, all these activities, madarpanam, do them as an offering to me.
Cokoliv děláš a cokoliv jíš nebo dáváš, tak dělej to jako oběť pro mě.
In this way, you will always be in consciousness of me, even in this material world.
Tak si mě budeš pořád vědom, dokonce i tady v hmotném světě.
Being Krishna conscious means even I'm in this material world, but I'm seeing what it really is. I'm seeing that this world is another kind of energy, as I explained, Achit Shakti. But because it comes from Krishna, I can use this energy in Krishna's service.
Vědomí Krishny znamená, že jsem v tomto světě a vidím ho takový, jaký je, že je to Achit Shakti, jak jsme mluvili, je to také energie Krishny a díky tomu to ji můžu použít ke službě Krishny.
So again, let's start with his body as the example of something material.
Když začneme toto tělo jako příklad něčeho hmotného.
Now, being material, the body of course has so many defects.
Jelikož je hmotné, tak má tělo spoustu nedostatků.
It grows old, it gets diseased, it dies.
Stárne a onemocní a umírá.
And one can just go on and on talking about all the bad things about the body.
Bychom mohli mluvit do nekonečna o špatných věcech spojených s tělem.
And then we can become very depressed.
Z toho můžeme být skolmoucení.
What to do in this condition?
Co s tím budeme dělat?
But yeah, there are things we can do.
Ale něco s tím můžeme dělat.
Just like I'm talking,
Já teď mluvím,
and everybody talks.
každý mluví.
This is one of our habits. No one can give that up.
To je jeden z našich zvyků, to asi nikdo nedovede
You
zdát.
see, we have a tongue in the mouth. It has to make sounds.
Máme jazyk v puse a musí vydávat zvuky.
It's one of the what's called begam, one of the passions or pushing agents in the body,
A to je jeden z popudů těla,
which means it's very difficult to control.
který je velice těžké ovládat.
Try it. Try to be totally silent for 24 hours.
Zkuste to. Vůbec nic neříkat 24 hodin.
It's very difficult.
Velice těžké.
Especially when you have the cell phone in your pocket.
Když máte mobil v kapse.
Like everybody has today. Ring. Hello. So this is very powerful, the urge to talk. And some of these halfway spiritualists, as I said, who only wake up to the existence of the soul but not to Krishna consciousness, then they even say that one should practice what they call mauna. To be spiritual, one should stop talking. There was one famous Baba from India who came to have disciples in the West, and it was claimed that for some number of years he was totally silent. But he was keeping a slate, you see, a small blackboard and chalk. So he would write, he would give instructions by writing on the board, not by speaking. But that's another kind of speaking. So actually, he also couldn't give it up. So anyway, in Krishna consciousness, there's no need to give it up. The speaking power is given by the Lord. And we have to ask why. Did Krishna give us the speaking power to just talk all nonsense all day? No. The intention is that we can speak about Him. We can glorify Him. Particularly we can chant His holy name. And that is serving Him in this body. And because He actually is His holy name directly, because He is the absolute truth. So there's no difference between He and His name. So when in this material body we chant Krishna's name, even though we're still in this world, we are directly associating with Him. We are directly in touch with Him. And you can experience that directly. Because when we chant nicely, purely, with full attention, we experience ecstasy. The word ecstasy actually comes from Greek, and in the original Greek sense, it means out of the body, out of this stasis, this material position, out of it. So it is a bliss that transports us out of the bodily conception. So anyone here can experience that ecstasy. You don't have to die first. You just chant Hare Krishna. And your consciousness raises out of this body to the level of transcendental happiness. And it's in that transcendental happiness that is the meeting point with Krishna. Because He is Anandamaya Purush, He is the very form of unlimited Ananda or bliss. Purusha means person, so He is unlimited transcendental bliss as person. So we can be with Him, even in this body, by using the tongue. And the other thing the tongue likes to do is taste. That is another vegam, very strong passion. We have to taste things, put things on the tongue, taste them. Especially in the Western world. When we go out in the city, we see so many people, they're just walking around. Something in the mouth, gum or something, ice cream. And if you think it's hard to be quiet for 24 hours, try not eating for 24 hours. So again, some mystics, yogis, they say, that's what you should do. Don't eat. Don't talk, don't eat. Live in a cave. Get very skinny. But we don't find this very attractive. Well, maybe you find the idea attractive, but if you try it, very quickly you'll lose all attraction for that kind of life. Because it is dry. And the urge for happiness, the urge for taste is actually coming from the soul. But he needs spiritual happiness, spiritual taste. And that we find in Krishna. So, yes, now we have this material tongue with all of its big desires. We find it so hard to control. But Krishna also, as I said, he comes in the form of his holy name, but he also comes in the form of Bhagavat Prasadam. Most tasty yet most pure food. Prasadam means mercy. It's God's mercy. So by his mercy, when we take prasadam, we are fully satisfied. Every taste we might like to have, you'll find in prasadam. You don't have to go to Chinese restaurant or some other ignorant place to get all these different tastes. Everything is there in prasadam because prasadam comes directly from Krishna and he is the origin of all taste. So, yet prasadam is pure. It relieves us of karma. Because you know, whatever you eat, it entails taking the life of other living entities. Even you try to, just like now they have these artificial, totally artificial kinds of foods, just made from chemicals, some foods. You see, some people try to get all of their nutrient from different jars of pills. And minerals and so on, vitamins, minerals. So someone might say, well, if all this is artificially produced, then how can you say that their eating is taking life? Well, who's living on the surface of those pills? Millions and millions and millions of bacterias and amoebas and etc. etc. Millions of And in this material world, we're responsible for that. Because in this way we're enjoying at the expense of the life of others. That's a karmic debt. So I'm telling you, even one tries to be vegetarian or vegan, as they say, this extreme kind of vegetarianism, vegan, still, that is karma. And the only way out is by offering our foodstuff to Krishna. When he accepts it, the karma is nullified. He says in Gita, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagna, Brahmanahutam, etc., that whatever is offered to me, then it is elevated to Brahman, to the level of transcendence. So preparing prasadam, that certainly involves the inadvertent taking of so many lives too. But because it is offered to Krishna, all those lives involved, they are liberated. And the one offering is liberated. And the one on the other end of it, who's taking the offered prasad, is also liberated. Mm-hmm. This is Krishna's statement in Gita. And this can be realized by you, by honoring Krishna prasadam. So, going from the tongue, we could talk about all the senses. That takes too long. But the conclusion is, in this bhakti yoga taught by Krishna in the Gita, there is a spiritual engagement, God-centered engagement for everything, every activity that we can do in the body. Mm-hmm. So you see, this is the logic of that everything comes from Krishna, including this material world, this realm of Achit Shakti, his ignorant potency. Still it comes from Krishna.